Hello dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video, this very special video. The Velocity 1 flight deck is now in my hands. Literally within the past few hours. This is my first impressions of the flight deck and my initial review of it. Literally out of the box. And I've just been using it for the past couple of hours or so to put it through its paces. So that's exactly what I'm going to give you in this video. First impressions, I'll talk about the flight deck, all the features. My misgivings. Now, Turtle Beach did give me this for a review purposes. So they sent me this so I can review it and do some testing with it. I want to be honest with you, I don't want to mislead anybody. So I'm going to give you the good, the bad, hopefully not the ugly. Once again, Turtle Beach products, I mean, look at it. Can't call it ugly, but the good and the bad with this. And I'll even show you some testing in the sim. Well, okay, let's not dilly-dally. Let's get on with this video. Okay, so first impressions of the unit itself out of the box. I did record some footage of the unboxing. You know what? It's a box. Comes in a box, probably about a third of size of something like the Velocity 1 flight yoke. Comes, each part of the flight deck comes in these little bags. They are branded, Turtle Beach branded. And at the bottom here you can probably see, there you go, throttle module, stick, and stick base, and they all come in parts like that, and then you just assemble it within seconds. So nothing special about the box really, is it? Shall we move on from the box? There are unboxings if you want to see that kind of stuff. So then you just attach the stick to the stick base and you just tighten it anti-clockwise with a little ring here. Nothing new there. Each unit, and it's PC only, people. Let me say that. I didn't say it's at the start. Some people say, why didn't you say it's at the start? Well, I have now. PC only. Each has its own USB lead to your PC, whatever system you're using. So you need two USB ports that are not being used, and then you attach it together. I've got some snazzy lighting going on there. I'm going to show you that later. There's an app you should download, but I'll talk about that later. First thing I noticed when it turned on, and it all rumbled, it was kind of like haptic feedback when it turned on. So that's exciting for the future and exciting for what's to come, maybe. First thing I noticed though was this display here, touchscreen display. Now, there's a couple of caveats with this currently, at least from my testing in Microsoft Flight Sim. Literally had this for the past few hours, so let this be my first impressions. And if I make mistakes along the way, you know, other people may be doing that as well. But I like that. What I did notice as well, let's see if I can do this through the camera lens. Yeah, I probably can. Let's do the middle one there. As I move the throttle, I thought this sent me a faulty unit. I heard rumbling. I could feel haptic feedback. Now you... Oh, I don't know if you can hear that through the camera. There's a little buzz when I go through the center detent there. That's because of this. You can turn that off and on. So if you want a little buzz when you get to your reversing in your airliners, there you go. It's buzzing as I move it right down, maybe reverse thrust or something of that sort. I thought that was a neat feature. I actually prefer to have that off. And let's go back. I am doing this through the camera lens, so you're going to have to bear with me, but I'm doing okay. But I like that, and there's a lot more to play with. Microsoft Flight Sim, it doesn't seem to play along. I'll get onto that later. Can't use much of these features in the sim, unfortunately. Nice throttle, nice action. I don't believe there's a way of alleviating the tension of the throttle, so it's one set tension. which is thankfully nice and smooth. I don't have any problems with it. I've got it set on a desk, neither, because it's quite heavy bases as well. Yeah, they are, especially this. It's not going to move, but you can mount it to some system. You do get mounting screws, or I'll show you my messy desk there, including a tissue. In that little bag there, you get mounting screws. Possibly mount it to the Velocity 1 stand. Maybe I'll try that in the future. You see the little lights going on there as well? Isn't that a cool little feature? There's PLV and hat switches galore on this thing. I've never seen so many on one unit. This is a little trackpad. I'll get onto that later. There's clickable buttons everywhere as well. Oh, don't drop it, Hudson. There's buttons and rocker switches on the back there, and another hat switch or PLV switch, and a trim wheel on the back. There's so many different things to play with. Oh, and I have been playing with them. I have been doing a few things, and like I said, a couple of misgivings with one or two of them. That's brilliant. Oh, and by the way, there's a button on the side here. Press that. You've now got a detachable throttle. I won't try and... Well, I can steady them both together. See if I can do this one-handed. You've got to get them both straight. Yeah, I have. And then you can put it back as one unit. That wasn't difficult at all, was it? Rotary switches. And there's two rotary switches on this one. There's a top one and bottom one. Clickable as well. Looks like another throttle. I mean, I guess you could assign that to flaps, but it does have detents on either side. Maybe that could be a reverse thrusters, or work it in somehow. I've not tried that yet. This is one of my first impressions. Any settings I'm going to show you are very basic, because I've only had it for the past few hours. Keep that in mind. Landing gear lever. Nice clunky, and this does work, thankfully, in the sim. Twist axis if you don't have rudders. Buttons galore everywhere on this. Like I said, if you click that up, you've got a little trackpad. Oh, maybe I'll show you that later. You can't really see from this angle. Rocker switches, buttons, more rocker switches. This is a three-way switch, center, and all that good stuff there. But these are more act like rocker switches. I've got this one set as my flaps. Why not? And even more buttons, and another. I mean, that says brake on it. Can't get that to work yet in Microsoft Flight Sim, but I've got to do more testing. This is not my final video, just my first impressions. Please keep that in mind. And there you go, and even a little display on top. So if I move that trim wheel up and down, it gives you a display and chronometer and goodness knows what. And just... buttons absolutely everywhere, and they all seem, the majority of them seem to be clickable. There's even a little pinky switch. This is an axis, and I've got to find a clever way of that for an axis in Microsoft Flight Sim, but that's an axis, your pinky switch there. I believe that's what they call it. Nice sturdy material. It's not metal. The trigger button is on the front there. It feels like it. Yeah, that's metal. Metal on the front there, which is nice. Just nice material all around. If you like the Velocity 1 flight stick, it's a bit more, it feels like a fighter stick straight in your hands. This is going to be great with DCS World. I'm calling it now. I wanted something like this for a while for DCS. I was going to buy a dedicated HOTAS for that with all these things. I've not seen anything with as many options as this. Keep that in mind moving forward as well. Those are my first impressions. I'm like, wow, there's so much I can do with this. Excited to get going with this. You get a quick guide, and it is pretty quick. That's it. Oh, there's a back page to it too. Just showing you all the buttons. Not the easiest one to follow, this one, Turtle Beach. Usually you're excellent with these. It's just a little bit too basic. But it does say go and download the app. So I'm going to show you the PC version of the app, because that can do a lot of amazing things too. Okay, so let's talk about the Turtle Beach app. I believe this is called Turtle Beach Flight Manager. So I got it from the Windows Store. Pretty easy to get if you got a PC, because you have to have a PC to use this flight deck. You're going to have a Windows Store. Just get it from there. It's a free app. And then you click on each one. Now, at the beginning, there's nothing loaded here. I've actually loaded in a basic config for both the stick and the throttle quadrant. First thing I did is went to firmware and I updated the firmware. It wasn't updated. Do be aware of that. You do need to update it. So that's what I did, updated it. It took maybe 10 minutes for each one, the stick and the throttle quadrant. So it's on the latest release firmware, as you can see. That's the first thing I did. But then I clicked, let's do it with this one, fighter jets. I won't keep this one. But you click on that little box down there, it'll put it up here for you. I'll get rid of that for now. I clicked on basic, that's the one I did. And you can do a hardware test. Let me just bring in, what am I on? The throttle quadrant. Just bring in the camera there for you. So what you do there, you can test all the different buttons and switches. And it all works fine as you would expect. And don't forget those are clickable. And you can test all them and all the different buttons at the back too. There's rocker switches, there you go. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. Sorry, I hope I was looking at the screen, not at the camera. I hope that my hand wasn't in the way too much there. But that's the idea. So you can do a hardware test. What else you can do here? Let's just click into the basic function there. And we're on the flight deck. There we go. You got things like panel editor. So if I wanted, there you go. That's green at the moment. If I wanted something like space, I wanted it all white. I'll click on space. You notice it's not changed. You have to go back to the main menu there. Click on the basic profile, and it will sync. Look what's happening. There you go. It's gone white. I think I actually prefer, just a second, the combat. So I'm going to go back again. Click on that, it will sync, and you notice that will go back. It's just all these neat little things. Let's continue there. Go back into there, and to lighting. This is where the fun begins. I've got it on custom colours at the moment. So what have I got? Green down here, yellow, all kinds of things. Purple up here. Let's make that one a red colour, shall we? We can make these. I don't know, let's just show you something here. Again, go back to the main window here and click on that to sync it. And you can see all these colours have now changed. Not quite sure I like that. I can play around with that later again, but you can just click on each one. You do have to go to custom there to do that. Now you can have set ones, so let's go to danger, shall we? Go back. So if you want it all as one colour. Did you hear that buzz by chance? Well, there you go, it's all set to that danger. Not one I particularly like, but I can change the lighting. Green, maybe. I think you get the idea of that, and you can do that with this stick as well, so I won't bore you too much with that. Yeah, there you go. We'll just keep it there for now, and I'll bring the camera back in later if I need to. So there we go. And yeah, the hardware test. Now, there's some quite interesting things here. Let me see if I can find it. Configs, basic, panel, hardware settings. Now you can have, there we go. You can actually have trackpad on this. So there's a little, on the stick there, there's a little thing that you move up to mouse. I'll do that. I won't record this, but I'll move. So my finger's on this fire button. My thumb's on that fire button. Look, acts like a trackpad. Kind of nice. You can press it in as a button as well. Kind of nice. It tracks better than the Velocity 1 flight stick trackpad. But if you're on PC and you got a mouse next to you and you can change the sensitivity down here, it's kind of nice. Not quite the best. It needs another revision to make it usable. But then why not use a mouse if you have a mouse? Let me just turn that off. Got things like audio, you want to put headphones in, you got all the great stuff like bass and treble and superhuman hearing and all that things. The thumb wheel, there's a bit of a misgiving with this. Now you can set it to digital buttons or analog axis. I'm going to show you what happens when I try to set this to trim in the sim later. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. And there's things like even like haptics. I've not played around with this yet, but there's the deflection haptics and goodness knows what, and pro aim and stick performance. Head sounds you can play with. There's a whole lot you can dive into with this app. Fully recommended, not only to get the latest firmware, which you should have, and I had no troubles, and goodness knows what, it's even got a factory reset there if you ever need to do that. I had no troubles getting it to the latest firmware using this on the same PC. Whole lot of things you can do here. I tell you what, let me now show you the flight deck in operation in Microsoft Flight Sim. Okay, so in Microsoft Flight Sim, yes, Haddison International London City Airport, runway 27 Cessna 182. How unusual. On the control, I'll show you later. I've just got a button between cockpit and external view. First thing I'm going to do though is go to control options. So control options, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in the camera. I'll have that set somewhere where you can see somewhere sensible where you can see the controls that are what I'm clicking on here. When you're first loading the flight stick, this is what you get. So let's go to throttle. Default. Yep, absolutely nothing. You don't get any control set. That's after installing the app, doing a reboot of the PC, and goodness knows what. If you're going to buy this, just be aware this is maybe one of the caveats some people will see. I wasn't happy with it. I didn't look at any videos really. I looked at one video slightly for a few minutes. I thought, no, I'll wait till I get mine before I form any opinion. Didn't know about this, that there's no default set. Even after installing the app, doing a boot and goodness knows what, and syncing up and firmware updates, there's no. It is called Flightdeck, thankfully, but it's default. This needs to be patched in ASAP. Asobo, I feel, would have to do with that. And Turtle Beach, of course, would have to get involved. I've set up a quick and dirty few buttons on my flight stick and throttle. Things like camera, so cockpit camera, quick views. Flight controls, obviously, aileron, rudder. Oh, by the way, it's a twist. I didn't mention that. It's got a twist action as a rudder, as most HOTAS systems and flight sticks will these days. Control trimming services. Here's one of the things. Should I show you this? I'll go to all, collapse all again. Flight control services, control trimming services. Now, what I'm going to do, usually when you've got a trim wheel like that, you would go elevator trim axis here and set that. Look what happens when I try that. Using that trim wheel. This is after installing the app and doing the firmware updates. That trim wheel, I cannot get it to work. There's one on the back of the throttle system. I can't get it to work. Let me just press any button. Oh, it's gone off anyway. So the trim wheel I haven't set up with the trim wheel. I've set it up using I believe it's this. Yeah, it is. So trim nails down, trim nail. It actually works quite well. Just be aware of that though. I won't save them. Go to control options and just show you the profile again. It should be back on the profile that I've set up. So basically you have to rename the profile, which I've done here. I've put some brakes on, nothing unusual. Landing gear thankfully does work. Landing gear up, landing gear down. I've even got a toggle landing. I don't need that, do I? Clear current inputs, validate. I set that up because I was having trouble with that landing gear. Nice clunk, isn't it? But it works fine, thankfully. And just a few more. Maybe what I'll show you. Quick and dirty sensitivity settings. Aileron, 18% minus sensitivity. Elevator, minus 41. Those are not finalised, people. I've not done anything with the rudder, by the way. That's not final. It just seems to suit the 182 for me. That's all I've done, but I've had to do that. It took me, you know, me and controls. I can do that in a matter of minutes. Throttle, by the way. I had to go into this and it wouldn't pick up. If I click on that, it's actually saying button. I had to go select inputs here and scroll down to throttle joystick. What was it? Joystick L axis Y. Let me just cancel that and I'll show you exactly what it was in case of mistake. There you go. It's joystick L, axis X. Joystick L, axis X, and that throttle now works. And don't click on reverse, otherwise it will go in the reverse axis. But that works fine. And there's other buttons like just simple controls. My first impressions, remember that, people. So what we're going to do is throttle up. I've got a button set as parking brakes there. Rudder control works fine, of course, as you would expect. Very nice. I've got to say, this stick feels absolutely brilliant to use. Just the whole contour of it. I enjoy using the Velocity 1 flight stick. This is no different in terms of enjoyment. Get up in the air. Take that gear up. There you go. That works fine. That's nice. And I've got a bit of trim set. Remember, I've got trim sets on here. Quick views left and right. You can set sort of a free view on that. I've got videos showing you how to do that. And there we go. And it all works fine. I've even got flaps on this. This is like a rocker switch. Push the flaps down here. Up. And there we go. I'll take the flaps back up. He didn't like that. But we can even put the gear back down there. Go external. You can see that happening. And in fact, I do. It's one of the things that I know it's a little thing, but I do love that little landing gear on that. And just the feeling with those little sensitivities that I put in there feels mighty fine. Very, very, very precise. As precise as the Velocity 1 flight stick. Doesn't feel quite as stiff in action. That throttle feels lovely. It is got quite a tension on that, and you can't relieve the tension on the throttle just, or not that I've found so far with my first impressions. Let's bring that throttle back and trim up, and as you can see, I can control this as well as I can with my Honeycomb XPC yoke. And as you've noticed, it's not moving. It's such a weight on these things. Or it's weighty enough that it's not going to move even just on a desk like this. And I've not even set up half the buttons. You know what, people? That will do for a flight test. Let me now take you to my conclusions and recommendations. So my conclusions, first impressions and recommendations. First impressions are, my goodness me, there's a lot of switches and things to learn on this. I'm quite enjoying setting this up. The controls that I have set up so far are pretty basic in Microsoft Flight Sim. Remember, I've had this merely for a few hours. There's a lot more that I've got to play around with. I have a couple of misgivings. I expected things like the trim wheel, unless I'm doing something wrong there. Remember, this is a first impressions video, so this may change over time. Can't seem to get those working for trim. I'm actually okay with using trim. I've got it set to this because it seems to work quite well. Loving the feel of the stick and the preciseness of that stick as well. And that throttle system is just next generation. It's marketed as the most advanced HOTAS system available. I've got to agree, from what I've seen on the market, I've not seen anything quite as advanced as this. And I've got to say, and all the features you get with the app, with all the lighting and haptic controls and goodness knows what. I mean, you saw some of it in this video. It'd be nice to get this touchscreen working in Microsoft Flight Sim. I believe there would have to be a patch from a server to get that working. And hopefully that will be working in the future. That would be a massive game changer. As it stands, it's a game changer for me. I don't just fly with Microsoft Flight Sim. I enjoy DCS World as well. I wanted a HOTAS like this specifically for DCS World. So thank you very much, Turtle Beach. I would have bought this myself anyway. I wouldn't be disappointed. I would be disappointed that some functions that are not available in Microsoft Flight Sim. I kind of half expected that. And if you buy this, just be aware there's a lot of work to be done if you want to get this up and running with Microsoft Flight Sim. If you're spending that much money, go in with it in that frame of mind that you're going to have to put some work in, set the controls up yourself, and it's fine. I believe and I hope there will be some kind of patch that will give us default profiles for this Flightdeck for Microsoft Flight Sim in the not too distant future. But I do believe Asobo would have to have a hand on that, in that. Anyway, with massive trepidation on this one, anything I record on the Velocity one, I'm going to ask you please to be nice in the comments below. Do leave your comments below. If it's not up your alley, that's fine. There's no need to be insulting though. Do leave your comments below. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. Look out for more videos on this. There's a lot more setting up I have to do. Be nice to show you a video in DCS World perhaps. And more settings for Microsoft Flight Sim once I've toyed around with it. Give the video a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more and I'll see you soon.